Hi, this is Carlos. Look for my book, Lessons from Mars, at Amazon or wherever you buy books, or visit my website, lessonsfrommars.net. Hi, I'm Carlos Valdez-Depena, and welcome back to this series of podcasts, which is all about high performance, collaboration, and teamwork, done in a way that comes from my work, my research at Mars Incorporated, and is based largely on the book I wrote about that called Lessons from Mars. You can find that on Amazon if you're interested. This episode, we're talking about one of the three imperatives being clarity, intentionality, and discipline, that are part of our framework. We're talking today about intentionality. I mentioned in an earlier podcast that that's the heart of the framework. In several of these podcasts, I've talked about intentional collaboration being what's needed. And I'm not going to go back and repeat all of that. I invite you to either read the book or go back and see some earlier podcasts or listen to them. I was working with a team in California in the Mars food business. The Mars food business in the U.S. is primarily Uncle Ben's. This goes way back, probably 2003, 2004. And I was doing what I used to do back in the day. I was using a personality instrument, actually two of them, to help people get to know each other better. There was a little twist, though. We had them all go over their personality inventories with the rest of the team. They shared their personality type and a couple other things. And then we asked them to identify the people in the room they needed to work most closely with and to sit down with them and have a series of conversations with the various people they needed to work with about how their preferences, personality, what have you, have an impact on how they work and how they work with others. So we ended up with a lot of random conversations. Some people worked with a lot of other people. Some people were more on their own. We all agreed that it was okay. If you had fewer conversations, that was fine. The key was to engage with your colleagues who were important collaborative partners to use the data about who each of you were to inform your working relationship. So we had a 2-day window of time, and we started those conversations the afternoon of the first day and didn't finish them until after lunch the next day. And in all the years I've worked with groups and teams, call them what you will, I have never gotten more positive feedback than I got from that group of people. To a person, they said they had never had a more worthwhile team engagement than this one was. Why? Well, so often we get this information that's kind of hanging out there. I get to know that you're this set of letters and I'm in that set of letters, but it's interesting. And I can put the little carved wooden blocks on my desk. But, what do I do with that? Well, these conversations were really clear about what I do with that, right? I get really clear. One person's more analytical. One person's more conceptual. We can figure out how to take advantage of those two skill sets. One person's more about logic and thinking. Another one's a little bit more about how people feel. How can we blend those things? Or maybe we're really alike and we can do a lot of things together. And we know specifically what we're going to work on that can take advantage of that. That I've never forgotten that. And that story is actually data for me and found its way into this approach. That's being intentional. They were now able to be intentional with each other. We could plan together about what we have to do together, not just based on the work, but who we are together. They were able, this food team, and now the teams that use our framework, because I've borrowed this idea and it's incorporated into the framework, they sit down and they create real accountability for their collaboration. It's not just rah-rah, teamy teamwork where we all feel good about hanging out together. It's we can hold each other accountable for specific commitments we've made about the work, and we can approach the work based on our various strengths, interests, capabilities, based on what we know about each other. Anchor this stuff to the work. That's what intentionality is all about. Let's create a teamwork or collaboration that's focused, that's planful, that's chosen. To do that, as I said in an earlier podcast, you need clarity about what the work is. Then you have to have discussions about who needs to be involved with whom, and then those people can sit down and do some contracting for how they're going to work together. And oh, by the way, the personality stuff only helps enrich that. That is the heart of collaboration. It's about who we are together. I'll add one more piece. It's about behaviors. we start contracting for how we need to be with each other, not just what we're going to do and what we're going to deliver, but how we're going to show up with each other and with our manager, right? Contracting for behaviors, for outcomes, for collaboration. That's at the heart of intentional collaboration, or the imperative intentionality. Okay, so we've set the table. We've talked about clarity, how that creates a powerful why and clarifies the what, the work. We've talked about intentionality, how that sets the table for the right behaviors, strengthening relationships around the work that you've decided is important. How do you keep that going? That's discipline, and that's the topic of the next podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please rate the show on iTunes or contact me with your feedback through my website, lessonsfrommars.net. You can find my book, Lessons from Mars, at Amazon or wherever you prefer to buy books, or, again, through my website, lessonsfrommars.net.